The Galactic Council chamber shimmered with the cold glow of its crystal walls, filled with the hum of laughter that carried no warmth. The topic was Earth, an unremarkable blue planet recently introduced to the interstellar stage. To the elder species seated in their ornate chairs, humanity's presence was an amusing mistake. They called it the primitive anomaly. When Earth's envoy appeared, a man in a simple black uniform with no adornments or armor, the laughter intensified. The Krell diplomat leaned back, ridged mandibles clicking. "You fire metal slugs? With explosions?" he mocked. "How quaint. You might as well throw rocks." The human did not flinch. His eyes stayed calm, voice even. "Rocks, perhaps. Fast ones." The room chuckled again. The Archon Dominion's admiral, a towering creature plated in obsidian armor, stood and let his voice roll like thunder. "Your kinetic toys are relics. We crossed the stars while your species still struck flint." His smile revealed rows of serrated teeth. "But let us not rely on words. We shall prove the difference between savagery and civilization." The council murmured approval. They loved spectacles. The Archons had been waiting for a chance to humiliate the humans. The idea spread fast, an exhibition of technology, a test between the Dominion's flagship cruiser and whatever artillery Earth dared present. The councilors approved it unanimously. Throughout the exchange, the human representative remained motionless, eyes fixed on the projection of the galaxy that hovered before them. "If you insist," he said finally. "But we won't compete on your terms." The Turek moderator arched a scaled brow. "Then what terms, Terran?" "The terms of outcome. 1 demonstration. 1 shot." A silence flickered, broken by laughter again. "1 shot?" the Archon Admiral repeated, incredulous. "You expect to harm a Dominion war cruiser with 1 shot?" The human's tone didn't waver. "No. I expect to end it." Mocking laughter filled the chamber again, bouncing off the crystalline dome. To the council, it was comedy. To the human, it was confirmation. The Dominion's flagship, Vortex Prime, was chosen for the demonstration, a behemoth of nearly 5 kilometers, its shields capable of withstanding sustained plasma bombardment. The date was set. The challenge accepted. The galaxy would witness Earth's folly. As preparations began, broadcasts spread across thousands of systems. Commentators analyzed Earth's recorded military history with derision. Chemical rockets, ballistic missiles, and magnetic rails, obsolete technologies to those who wielded matter-antimatter reactors and plasma cannons. News networks aired simulations showing the futility of kinetic weaponry against energy shields. In every projection, the human projectile vaporized harmlessly before even grazing the hull. Within the council, the amusement continued. Some delegates placed bets on how long the Terrans would last before conceding. Others predicted they would withdraw out of embarrassment. The Archon Admiral basked in the attention, already rehearsing his victory speech. Only the human remained silent. When asked for his chosen weapon, he replied with 2 words that no one recognized. "Project Thor." The words echoed through diplomatic channels and military archives. No one found a record. Analysts speculated, perhaps a symbolic name, a bluff to sound intimidating. The Archons dismissed it as typical human dramatics, obsessed with myth. The council laughed again. But that night, in the human command center orbiting Earth, preparations moved without fanfare. No energy spikes. No warships deploying. No armadas gathering. Only a quiet relay to an orbital array positioned far above the planet's atmosphere, silent, unpowered, invisible. By the next cycle, the Galactic Council prepared for the demonstration. Vortex Prime entered high orbit over Jupiter, gleaming under the light of the gas giant. Billions tuned in to witness the humiliation of the newcomers. Commentators called it the day Earth admitted its limits. The human delegate stood once more before the council, expression unchanged. "You misunderstand us," he said softly. "We don't fight to prove strength. We fight to end the question." The Archon Admiral smirked. "And your question ends today?" The human nodded. "Yes. It does." Across the galaxy, A countdown began. Not from the aliens, but from a quiet human console in low orbit. The counselors laughed for the last time, unaware that in 30 seconds, the laughter would stop forever. The Archon Dominion's flagship, Vortex Prime, floated like a black monolith above Jupiter, its reflective armor catching the planet's red and gold storms below. The galaxy watched in collective amusement. Every major network broadcasted the event, confident it would end as a farce. Commentators filled the airwaves, dissecting human backwardness, marveling at the audacity of comparing rail guns and missiles to plasma accelerators. They still use combustion. One laughed. They light fire to move metal. The Dominion fleet surrounded the cruiser in perfect formation, escort vessels standing by to record the moment. Inside Vortex Prime's bridge, Admiral Koro Val reclined in his command chair, eyes glowing faintly through his obsidian visor. His voice echoed through the ship. "We are live across 100 systems. Ensure your weapons are charged. Let the humans make their move." His crew laughed with him, their confidence unshakable. Across the void, humanity's representation was far more modest, a single orbital control vessel hidden in the shadow of the moon, its crew numbering less than 100. There were no banners, no speeches, no fleets of ships. Just calm professionals monitoring silent consoles. A captain's voice broke the quiet. "Orbital array linked. Kinetic payload trajectory confirmed. Ready to release on command." At the center of the command deck, General Imani leaned forward, eyes steady. "Confirm global clearance." The officers nodded in unison. "Project Thor authorization granted," one said. "Coordinates locked on Vortex Prime." The weapon itself was invisible, no ship, no engine signature. It wasn't even in Earth's orbit anymore. The payload had been waiting for months, parked high above the planet in dead drift, silent as stone. When the order was given, gravity did the rest. There was no ignition, no thrust. Just release. A tungsten rod, 12 meters long, began to fall toward Jupiter at tens of kilometers per second, accelerated purely by physics and precision. On the alien broadcast, there was confusion. Nothing appeared on sensors. The Archon technicians reported zero emissions from the human fleet, no power surge, no weapon discharge, no launch signature. "Perhaps they're surrendering," one officer suggested, earning another round of laughter. The human ambassador, still present in the council chamber, spoke quietly through the communication feed. "The demonstration has begun." The Archon admiral sneered. "We see nothing." "You will," came the reply. 30 seconds passed. On board Vortex Prime, warning lights flickered as sensors caught something faint, an object descending at impossible speed, no propulsion, no heat. The AI systems couldn't classify it. "Could be debris," an officer said dismissively. "Ignore it." In the human command center, the countdown ticked down from 20. Every human eye was locked on the numbers. There was no music, no speech, only breathing and soft keystrokes. "Trajectory stable," a voice whispered. "Target lock confirmed. Impact in 15. Back aboard the cruiser, the Admiral frowned as an aide's voice cracked through. "Object inbound, velocity, impossible, sir, it's exceeding re-entry limits." The Admiral's command chair vibrated as shields auto-activated. "Plot intercept," he barked, but the sensors went blind. The object was already there. From Jupiter's orbit, cameras caught a faint streak of light cutting across darkness like a falling star. To alien observers, it looked like a meteor, a natural event. But instruments screamed as the kinetic energy readings spiked off the charts. In the council chamber, alien leaders leaned forward, waiting for the punchline they expected: the human's failure, the harmless impact. The human envoy simply folded his hands. His pulse didn't rise. 3 seconds, he murmured. Across the galaxy, millions watched as that small streak struck the heart of Vortex Prime. There was no explosion visible at first, just a brilliant flash that seemed to erase color from the screen. The light faded, and the flagship was gone from half the sensors. The signal cut out mid-broadcast, leaving static and stunned silence. In orbit over the moon, General Imani lowered her headset. Direct hit, an operator said softly. Target annihilated. The human delegate looked around the council chamber. The laughter had stopped. The silence was heavy, absolute. His voice, calm and measured, broke it. That was one rod, he said. You can calculate how many we have left. The feed ended. Across the stars, every race that had mocked Earth suddenly understood. Humans didn't bluff. They didn't posture. They just calculated, released, and ended things. The moment of impact rewrote every assumption the galaxy had about warfare. Where Vortex Prime once hovered, there was now only a shimmering cloud of vaporized alloy. The tungsten rod, traveling at orbital velocity, had converted pure kinetic energy into an inferno hotter than a star's surface. The ship's shields had never been designed to stop physical momentum at that magnitude. They had flared for a fraction of a second before collapsing. The resulting shockwave tore the cruiser apart before its systems even registered the hit. Fragments the size of cities spun outward, molten edges glowing as they dispersed into Jupiter's gravity well. Across the galaxy, millions of transmissions froze mid-commentary. Every channel that had been broadcasting the event went silent. For a few seconds, only static filled the air before emergency networks took over. Sensor logs from dozens of ships captured the same impossible reading, an instantaneous spike of thermal energy followed by total disintegration. No plasma signature, no antimatter residue, no explosion caused by energy weapons, just physics unleashed with surgical precision. On the bridge of the nearest Dominion escort, panic erupted. Crew members shouted conflicting orders, scanners malfunctioning as debris shredded their hulls. Shield overload! Compensate! Someone yelled, but the command came too late. The kinetic shock had crippled multiple ships within seconds. Every vessel within 1,000 kilometers was forced to retreat from the expanding field of molten wreckage. In the council chamber, the delegates stared at the blank hologram where the Archon Admiral's broadcast had been seconds earlier. The chamber that had roared with laughter now drowned in disbelief. The silence pressed down like a physical weight. The Turek moderator's voice cracked when he finally spoke. Confirm target status. The human representative's expression didn't change. Status confirmed, he said. Impact successful. Reports began streaming in from military outposts. Every scan, every reading, every analysis returned the same conclusion. A single human projectile had bypassed all energy defenses and delivered a terminal hit without any detectable weapon discharge. The equations were staggering. The kinetic force was equivalent to several megatons, focused on a single point smaller than a shuttle. The Council's brightest tacticians ran the data twice, then 3 more times, hoping to find an error. There was none. When the human spoke again, his tone was composed, professional. That was one rod, he repeated. A single payload, deployed without warning. It does not emit, it does not charge, it does not miss. We call it orbital kinetic interdiction. The universe calls it gravity. The translation feeds lagged behind his words, as though the machines themselves hesitated to carry the message. Around the chamber, some delegates sat frozen. Others muttered into communication devices, demanding their fleets go to alert status. The realization spread quickly: if humans could drop such projectiles from orbit anywhere, then no world, no fleet, no city, was beyond their reach. The Archon Dominion's secondary fleet, stationed near their home system, received the news next. Their high command immediately denied the report, calling it human propaganda. Minutes later, fragments from Vortex Prime's hull began entering Jupiter's atmosphere. The images, transmitted live by neutral observers, burned across every screen in the galaxy. The truth was undeniable. Back on Earth, control centers confirmed impact telemetry, verifying a deviation margin smaller than a meter. The engineers who had designed the system didn't cheer. They simply logged the data, detached, clinical. To them, it had been a test of mathematics, not vengeance. Humanity had spent centuries mastering destruction. Now they had refined it into silence. As the Council regained its voice, accusations erupted. Some demanded sanctions, Others called for immediate military escalation. Yet none dared act. Every race capable of orbital warfare understood that if humans had one rod, they could have thousands, ready, hidden, waiting. The human representative stood, gathering his documents with quiet precision. "You wanted a demonstration," he said. "You have it. The laws of physics don't care who rules the stars." He walked out before anyone could reply. Behind him, the chamber remained motionless, haunted by the knowledge that one silent shot had ended the most powerful warship in the galaxy. Panic gripped the Dominion before the debris from Vortex Prime cooled. Their encrypted networks filled with contradictory orders: retreat, retaliate, deny. Fleets were recalled from border patrols, commanders stripped of authority, and engineers forced to explain why shields built to withstand plasma storms failed against a simple tungsten rod. No one could answer. The Dominion's pride had been vaporized along with its flagship. On 1,000 worlds, broadcasts replayed the impact over and over. Analysts dissected the footage, each frame confirming what none wished to believe. There had been no visible attack, no beam, no detectable energy spike. One instant the cruiser existed, the next, it was gone. Scholars compared the kinetic energy to a small asteroid strike. Military strategists recalculated planetary defense models, realizing that no shield technology could neutralize that kind of momentum. What was once theory had become terror. The council chambers descended into chaos. Diplomats shouted across the room, each representing a civilization suddenly aware of its vulnerability. The Krell demanded immediate restrictions on orbital weapons. The Turek proposed sanctions against Earth. Others countered that declaring hostility toward a species capable of erasing a capital ship with a single untraceable strike was suicide. Fear replaced arrogance in every conversation. No one laughed now. Earth's representative didn't speak. He simply listened, watching the same races that had mocked humanity turn on one another, their alliances fracturing under the weight of fear. Messages poured in from across the galaxy, offers of cooperation, urgent meetings, desperate requests for technical exchange. Every faction wanted to know how humanity had done it, and more importantly, how to defend against it. But the humans shared nothing. Their silence was an answer of its own. In the Dominion's capital, riots broke out. Citizens, once taught to believe in their invincible fleets, demanded answers for the loss of their greatest vessel. The surviving fleet admirals spoke in trembling tones, urging calm while preparing evacuation plans. One of them admitted in a private report that if humanity had more of these rods of God, then the Dominion itself could be wiped out without warning. The galactic markets crashed. Shipbuilding stocks plummeted, while trade in kinetic materials soared. Every military power rushed to develop countermeasures, but physics offered no mercy. The realization was universal: energy shields couldn't stop momentum. Gravity couldn't be jammed. The laws of motion belonged to no empire but nature itself, and humanity had learned to weaponize that truth perfectly. In underground forums and encrypted channels, whispers spread. They called the humans the gravity killers, the silent gods, the species that broke the sky. Some races began dismantling old weapon stockpiles, fearing retaliation. Others started secret programs to court Earth diplomatically, hoping to align rather than oppose. The Council's intelligence divisions reported a new kind of deterrence sweeping through every government, no longer fear of invasion, but of invisibility. Humanity didn't need fleets. They only needed altitude and timing. The human ambassador finally addressed the Council after hours of turmoil. His voice carried calm authority, cutting through the noise. "We didn't attack. You invited a test. You laughed at what you didn't understand. We responded with reality." The translator repeated his words in a dozen languages. None dared interrupt. "We are not a threat unless forced to become one. But we will not kneel again." His statement spread faster than the impact footage. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy united not against a common enemy, but around a single emotion: caution. Treaties were redrafted overnight, border expansions halted, and war projects quietly shelved. The Council issued a formal declaration recognizing Earth as a sovereign equal, not by diplomacy but by necessity. Behind closed doors, alien leaders whispered what none would say publicly: humanity had achieved deterrence without dominance. No empire could challenge them now. The balance of power had shifted permanently, not through conquest, but through precision. One silent strike had undone millennia of arrogance. The galaxy had learned its lesson, the hard way. The council reconvened under an atmosphere heavy with unease. The laughter that had once filled the chamber was gone, replaced by cautious silence. Delegates spoke in hushed tones, their voices stripped of arrogance. The Archon Dominion had withdrawn its fleets from disputed sectors, their once boastful admirals now ghosts in communication feeds. Every empire in attendance knew the truth: humanity had not merely proven power, they had proven control. The capacity to strike anywhere, without warning, had rendered traditional warfare obsolete. The human representative entered without ceremony. He carried no entourage, wore no medals, and displayed no sign of triumph. The other species watched him as one might watch a loaded weapon, still, but impossible to ignore. The council chair addressed him first, voice trembling despite the attempt at formality. Earth has demonstrated capabilities that exceed our existing frameworks. We request an explanation and assurances. The human regarded the assembly with calm indifference. You don't need explanations, he said. You already saw the result. As for assurances, don't provoke us, and you'll never need them. The words landed like weights, heavy and final. No one dared challenge them. Even the most militant delegates found themselves unable to maintain eye contact. The arrogance that had fueled centuries of council politics dissolved in the presence of quiet certainty. A Turek general tried to reassert some control. Such weapons destabilize the galaxy. Their existence invites fear. The human's reply was simple. Fear keeps peace. You mistook comfort for order. That's why empires collapse. His tone carried no hostility, only truth spoken by someone unafraid of consequence. In the following hours, the Council voted to rewrite the core laws of interstellar conflict. Orbital kinetic bombardment was declared a universal deterrent, forbidden to all except Earth under mutual guarantee. None protested the exception. They all understood the unspoken reason: it couldn't be stopped. Every delegation signed the accord out of survival, not principle. Outside the chamber, the impact footage continued circulating. It had become a symbol, replayed endlessly across star systems. The image of Vortex Prime's erasure was no longer treated as horror, it was legend. For the first time, humanity's name was spoken not with mockery, but with reverence. Songs, propaganda, even academic texts began to frame Earth as the civilization that forced the galaxy to confront its arrogance. In the outer colonies, soldiers painted tungsten rods on their armor as a warning. Among the merchant guilds, trade with Earth surged. Fear had turned into respect, and respect into opportunity. Within human command, no one celebrated. The operation's success was documented, debriefed, and archived. General Imani's report to the United Earth Directorate summarized it in one line: asterisk. Demonstration successful. Strategic deterrence established. No further action recommended. Asterisk. Humanity had achieved what no species had managed before: dominance without conquest. Their silence, their restraint, was what unsettled the galaxy most. Every leader knew that if Earth had chosen vengeance instead of restraint, entire fleets would already be dust. Weeks later, the Council held a final session to formalize Earth's position. The chair addressed the chamber. The species of Terra, once considered primitive, will hold a permanent seat in this assembly. Their wisdom and restraint is the reason we still sit here. The delegates rose not in applause, but in acknowledgement. The human bowed slightly, then delivered the closing words that would echo for generations. We don't seek to rule. We seek to be left in peace. But if you bring war to us, understand this: you won't see the missile, you won't hear the launch, you'll only know it's over when the silence arrives. The chamber remained motionless as the human departed. Outside the vast crystal windows, the galaxy shimmered in quiet brilliance. Somewhere above that stillness, tungsten rods drifted in patient orbits, unseen, unarmed, yet always ready. The message was clear and eternal. Humanity didn't roar to be feared, they whispered to be remembered.